the ultimate journey is probably the inner journey. That it's that journey to find who we truly are. I guess, for me, to be naturally who I am and not to be, try and make myself someone that I'm not. Now, I grew up in a little village in Suffolk, going to a little village primary school. I think there was like 20 kids in the school, so it was pretty small, Suffolk. When I was smaller, we lived in a place called Albury. My folks had our living room was number 13, gallery 13, I think it was called. I spent my childhood climbing trees and falling out of trees and riding bikes and falling off bikes, and that's just part of building your personality, and building the person you are. You grow through the difficulties in life. Life's not supposed to be safe, domestic. I can remember always one of my kids, very little, probably not walking, and I had a candle, and she was trying to put a hand in the candle flame like this, and I kept taking her hand back and saying hot, and then I was like, am I going to do this all her life? And so I just let her put her hand in the candle flame, and of course she pulled it back and she didn't try and do it again. But it's actually life experience that we learn from. When I was 20, I jumped on a plane to Bombay from London. First time I'd ever been on an aeroplane. I was sick, and the whole time I remember I think we landed in Abu Dhabi. I think it was Abu Dhabi, and the airport was just tin sheds. It was just like these tin sheds. When I remember getting to the door of the plane and the heat just hit me, I just couldn't believe that it could be so hot at night time. And then we went and sat down in these tin sheds on the floor with all these women with burqas on. I learned about Australia when I was 12, 13 in high school geography, and Perth just jumped out at the map of me, and I was like, I want to go there. And so I travelled for a year. So I flew to Bombay and travelled in India, Sri Lanka, then went to Thailand, Malaysia, Sumatra, Java, Bali. I worked in Western Australia, diamond prospecting mob over there, and then I ended up going and working on a prawn trawler in the Gulf. Spent a bit of time being a mung bean in Broome. That's what they used to call people who lived in the sand dunes, because we ate mung beans. I remember one time we're there and the rangers and coppers came through on horseback, right, and they had two-way radios, and we saw them come through on the top of the sand dune. We got this camp in the sand dune there, and I could hear them on their two-way radios. They said, "We found a village of mung beans." So Bike Ride was International Year of Peace. We gathered in Adelaide over the Adelaide Festival they have there. Well, it was actually the Adelaide Fringe Festival, but they had the Adelaide Arts Festival at the same time. And so about 70 of us headed off to do a bike ride around Australia's nuclear chain, which was protesting against Pine Gap and Roxby Downs and various other installations. And we talked to the kids about peace, we talk about alternate power. But when we were talking about peace, we were sort of talking about like fighting with your mum and dad or fighting with your sisters or your friends, and talking relative to, their lives rather than the big picture of no war. But we rode along the Oodnadatta track. I think it took about 4 weeks to bike ride along the Oodnadatta track. I remember stopping in Oodnadatta and they had an outside theatre, like film theatre there, and you sat on deck chairs and they showed the Burke and Wills movie with Jack Thompson in it. And it was, it was just so perfect, because it's like, I don't know if you know the story of Burke and Wills, but incredible story of them hiking through the country to try and find the Gulf of Carpentaria and the trials and tribulations that they went through. So when I first came over to the East Coast, well, not the first time, but when I came to live over here, that was after the bike ride. So after I got to Darwin, I ended up going into Arnhem to Marunga. So I actually I went south down to Nimbin for a while, and then I came back up later, and that's when I stayed. It's a strange thing, but there's a sort of this line of latitude, and I still feel it now. And somewhere north of Cape Trib, so the coast road had just been pushed through, and I'm hitchhiking up the coast road, and just came to this point where I just had this gut feeling that I'd come home. Yeah, and it's strange, because it's like, I don't have a historical connection to this country. I don't have ancestral, as far as I know, I don't have any ancestral connection to this country. But this is home. And yeah, it's home for me, and I just love it. And I'm so, I'm honoured and so lucky. Maybe it's, I just feel that in grace, that I can live in this country and live out in the bush where I'm not in the middle of any city or even in a town, and I'm surrounded by nature and I can watch the birds and I don't have to hear people and cars. It's like, I guess, working with Indigenous people too. Here, I've worked a lot with people from Hope Valley and Ridgewood, and I feel really relaxed. And at home, I probably, in a way, feel more comfortable working and talking and relating with, the Gulbiyanji people than I do even with white people. So, how I got into biodynamics was because back in the 90s, I wanted to put my kids in the Steiner school. I'd learned about Steiner and I'd separated with my partner at the time. So I headed down to Ballingen in New South Wales. So I'd been living up here for quite a few years, went down there. And I got really excited when I found out that they did a teacher training at the school. And it was the perfect place. To me, it's like, where would you want to learn to be a teacher but in a school? And I just loved it. It's because you're not just working with, organic matter and plants. You're working with the energy. You're working with energy of all the different planets, of what is the planetary forces or the moon forces. I mean, everybody's probably heard of the moon planting calendar, but the biodynamic calendar goes one step further than that. When I first came here, I really had a strong energy that this was where I was meant to be, and that I was, the guardian. I mean, it felt to me like the spirits of the land here said, you are the guardian of this land. But the stirring is basically putting biodynamic preps into water, and you spend an hour stirring in a clockwise motion, creating a vortex, stirring in the other direction. So you create chaos and then you create order, chaos and then order, and this is the basic premise that everything comes out of chaos. So out of chaos always comes the new order. So you've got, whether chaos is a war, out of that war comes a new order. Or out of the chaos of birth, you have a new child, a new person comes into the world. This out of a flood, like I remember somebody said to me, that the big flood in Wujal was the best thing that ever happened to that community. So, there was an incredible chaos, everybody was taken away. But now there's been so much investment, most of the young people have got jobs, there's so many good things happening there. There's been so much energy going into that community that it's really turned it around. So the new order. So I started working with Indigenous people when I came back from Bellingen and I had done the Steiner teacher training. I started doing artist in residency. I ended up putting a program together and we put in a grant, and we actually got the grant, and so then I started travelling to all the other schools in this cluster. So the program was called Arcadia, Art, Craft and Drama in Action, and it involved all sorts of things from mask making, theatre, tie-dyeing, making paper, making puppets and putting on puppet shows. There was a whole heap of different activities that I was doing. And so I ended up going to Mapoon and Weeper, Ravenshoe, Herberton, Gelatin, Mossman, Mount Malloy, all these other schools as well. And I did that for 6 or 10 years, I think. I was going around schools. I guess if you talk about what really drives me is how I believe the imagination is so underrated. I can remember being told as a child, it's only your imagination. But really, imagination is how we work through problems. Imagination is actually how we can move forward, find new solutions instead of, using old solutions all the time. Maybe it's the way we can deal with climate change. We've got this new report that's just come out that we're headed for this horrific future. But that's not the future I want to imagine. The future I want to imagine is a future where we come together as community, where we work together as community, where people love and care for each other, and are creative. That creativity is actually, one of the foundation principles of our society. Whether that's being creative in our speech, creative in our conversations, or creative with our cooking. You don't have to be an artist, a musician, or a painter. And I just, it's the proof is out there in research. Anyway, the benefits of arts for mental health. Whether it's singing a song, playing some music, listening to music, painting, drawing this, weaving, or even just going into a gallery and looking at artwork. We need to start really dreaming up the world we want to live in, not focusing too much on that, the horror story. Start focusing on the world that we actually want to live in. Too many times, people get to start talking about the wrong things in the world. We need to start thinking about the right things. One of my little sort of philosophies in life is, if somebody bugs me and I've got this, it's sort of like, that so annoys me. I just go, well, okay, what are they doing that I like? That's it. I've just shifted my consciousness, I've shifted my awareness away from that, and I don't think about it anymore. It's the bigger dream. It's about creating a better world for everyone to live in. And that's not limited even to just this community. When I'm talking about the whole world, it's like how can we contribute through being more conscious, more aware, more caring, more loving, and creating healthy foods and healthy environments. I think that's, for me, it's important that I do, I don't always do yoga and meditation every day, but I would like to have a daily practice that I do every day. And it's wonderful that I can go out into my garden, and it takes a lot of energy and effort to have a garden, but the benefits of being able to eat food out of your garden that you know's not got any pesticides and herbicides on it, and it's grown with love, I think that helps to make me healthy, and I'm really happy to share that with other people. I love being able to share that abundance with other people. I did this meditation actually I was at Black Mountains. I went down to the creek and I was just sitting there and I just connected with the trees there. And I was sort of like, oh, these trees are all connected. Oh, they're connected to all the other trees around here. Oh, they're actually connected to all the trees in Australia. And they're actually connected to all the trees all over the world. Trees are connected into each other. They actually have that, they're on a totally different consciousness level that we are. But they are all, connected to each other. It's incredible. Well, native people, the original people were connected to the trees and the plants. And, I don't think that they learned medicinal properties through experimentation. I think they learnt the medicinal properties or the food properties of those plants by talking to the plants. We're connected and we're part of this network, and we need to realize that we can actually make that connection, and we can talk to trees and we can talk to nature and work with nature on a different level. It's not, we've got to get out of our heads and into our hearts more.